Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to dive into a totally different way of looking at, well, pretty much all the huge challenges our planet is facing. The core idea is that humanity is right in the middle of what's being called an evolutionary polycrisis.
So let me just start by asking you this. When you look at the world today, you've got climate change over here, economic insecurity over there, social division, crazy new tech. Do you see all of those as separate fights, individual problems that we need to tackle one by one?
Because what if they're not separate at all? The material we're exploring today makes a powerful argument that all these things are really just symptoms. Symptoms of one, single, much deeper issue, that our modern way of life is fundamentally out of sync with the planet we live on.
Okay, so let's get into the nitty-gritty of this concept. This evolutionary polycrisis. What does that even mean?
A polycrisis isn't just, a bunch of bad things happening all at once. It's more like a tangled mess of wires. Each crisis, the climate, our society, our economy, is actually feeding the others, amplifying them, and making the whole situation worse, all because they come from the same root.
And this quote, wow, it just nails the feeling of this moment, doesn't it? It frames this whole thing as an evolutionary test. The old ways of doing things are breaking down, and yeah, that can be pretty scary. But at the very same time, something new is trying to emerge.
So you can see where this is going, right? If the problem is one giant interconnected web, then our solutions can't be these tiny, isolated fixes. It means we have to fundamentally change how we relate to each other, how we organize ourselves, and how we work together.
And that brings us to the first key idea for the path forward: synergy. Now, this is way more than just a corporate buzzword for teamwork. We're talking about something deeper. It's that magical thing that happens when we align ourselves, our ideas, our organizations, so that the result is way, way bigger and more powerful than anything we could have possibly done on our own. So if synergy is the what, that incredible outcome we're aiming for, then conscious collaboration is the how. It's the actual engine that gets us there. It means intentionally moving past our egos, past the constant competition, and really focusing on building trust, on deep listening, and on a shared sense of responsibility for each other and for the planet.
All right, this all sounds great in theory, but how do we actually do it? How do we make it real? Well, the material we're looking at lays out a tangible framework for this new way of working together. It's called the Phoenix Platform.
Think of it like a new operating system for humanity. Seriously, at its core are these 7 foundational capacities. You can think of them as the essential skills and systems we as a species need to develop so we can move from our current chaotic state toward taking effective, coordinated action on a global scale.
Now, 7 is a lot to take in at once, so let's just zoom in on 3 of them to get the idea. First, we need to be able to make sense of this incredibly complex world together. That's collective systems sense-making. Then, we need to actually work together based on that shared understanding, which requires conscious collaboration and trust. And finally, we have to make sure our actions are actually helping, using new ways to measure success that are truly aligned with the health of our planet. But what is the real scale of this transformation we're talking about? It's one thing to discuss these big ideas, but when you look at the actual numbers, honestly, it's pretty mind-boggling. Okay, first stop. There are somewhere between 10 and 12 million nonprofits and NGOs out there in the world. Think about that. Millions of organizations all trying to do good. How do we get them all pulling in the same direction? And that's just the start. Now let's think about businesses. We're talking about more than 330 million of them globally. This requires a fundamental shift in how they all operate, moving from a mindset of extraction to one of regeneration. And then, what about the next generation? We're looking at up to 75 million schools, from primary to secondary. This means completely rethinking what we teach our kids so they grow up with the skills and the mindset needed for this new kind of collaboration. So when you put it all together and you look at this table, you really get the picture. This isn't a problem for one country or one industry to solve. The scale is civilizational. The change has to happen everywhere, all at once, across millions of different organizations. No single government or company can do this alone. And this all leads us to the final, crucial takeaway. We are standing at a profound crossroads, a real evolutionary choice point for the human species, and the decisions we're making right now are going to shape everything that comes next. And the choice before us is pretty stark. On one side, we can keep going down the path we're on, using our amazing technology in ways that just exploit and divide us, focusing only on competition and narrow self-interest.
That path leads to systemic collapse. Or we can consciously choose a different path, one where technology helps us live in harmony with life, where we build a world based on collaboration, care, and a deep sense of responsibility.
But here is the most important part. Our future isn't written in stone. Nothing is guaranteed. The whole point here is that we have a choice. We can consciously and intentionally build the relationships and the systems needed for a thriving world that works in harmony with the planet.
And this leaves us with one final thought to take away. You hear all this talk about global systems and these massive numbers, and it's easy to feel overwhelmed, right? But this global transformation, it doesn't really start out there. It starts right here, with us. It starts in how we choose to relate to each other and work together every single day.